expression. If I'm not a Muslim, I probably wouldn't call it divine revelation. And not being a Muslim, I don't call it divine revelation because I see where he's, I don't want to use that word, cheating? No, I don't want to see that word. Where he's borrowing things from other literature. And I don't think God has to borrow anything. Angels don't need to borrow things. So the human aspects of some of these documents are written all over them. But to the religionist, the believer, the follower, the adept, they're expressing their awe for these documents. So there was no Josephus in the Bar Kokhba period, so we know so little about it. There was a Josephus for the first revolt. So when was the first revolt? '66 to '73 AD or CE, however you express it. Actually 70, because 70 is the crucial moment. Broke out in '66, it ended in 70. What happened in 70?
The temple.
The fall of the temple, the burning of the temple, burning of parts of Jerusalem. But we say it actually limped on to 73 because Josephus actually takes his narrative up till 73. And he's a interrogator by that time. He describes his betrayal of his people going over to the Roman side, how he affected that by applying the Jewish messianic prophecy to Vespasian, as we said last time. The messianic prophecy from Numbers, I think 24:17. See, how does that go? A star will rise from Jacob, a scepter to rule the world, therefore known as the star prophecy. He applies that to the Roman conqueror of Palestine, saying that he was going to rise out of Palestine to rule the world, meaning the Roman world, and take over the emperorship of the assassinated Nero. So, you know, con men, imposters, and by the way, Josephus hates con men and imposters, though he's one himself. You know, I mean, a rose by any other name is still a rose. You can call and accuse others of being this, and you may end up being that yourself. Maybe I am too. In any case, con men and imposters, people, posers really, posturers, can do a lot with ancient prophecy and can impress masses of people who are very credulous, you know, were easy to believe. And that was the problem in the Roman period. People were really credulous. They believed in things like exorcisms. They believed in things like, you know, miracles that magicians could wreak, like turning water into wine or something, or multiplying loaves. These are all sort of magical so-called signs or tricks or whatever. Now, of course, they're presented in the Gospels as religious signs that this person is of extraordinary power. But that's what the ancient world wanted to show, that these people, like Josephus, not Jesus, forget him, had extraordinary power, and they could play on the superstition of the groups that they were dealing with. And of course, what the groups that they were dealing with often were afraid of was the future and death. Even political figures were frightened of making the wrong decision. They wanted to know that the gods were lined up, that the fates were auspicious, that the auguries were good. Before the worst thing in the world is to act. It's much easier to defer action. We have a word stall or something like that, prevaricate. It's much easier to do that than actually take action. How does Hamlet express it in Shakespeare? He's the perfect prevaricator. Whether I to be or not to be, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the stings of outrageous fortune, or to, take arms against a sea of troubles and thereby end them. Very elegantly put, but it's the dilemma of the prevaricator. And in order to act, most people need firm bases. So Ronald Reagan's wife used to watch the astrology charts, and she wouldn't do anything that wasn't in the right alignment of the stars for her husband, and he was just like a sap. He would like, oh, okay, dear, and she would like wind him up and send him out there. I mean, he's actually a bigger sap than poor George. And George's wife is actually smarter than Reagan's wife. So George is in good shape because he's got a very intelligent wife, and she knows more than he knows about everything, and he knows that, and I give him credit for that. I give him credit for that. He defers to her, and he knows that she's far more talented and effective than him. So that's already a virtue that someone knows when they're limited, and knows they've got someone with them who's far more effective and far-seeing. Reagan was the same, but his wife wasn't as intelligent as Bush's wife. And Bush's parents should actually get down on their hands and knees and thank God that he met this young lady from Midland, Texas. Otherwise, he'd still be probably in the Alcoholics Anonymous Association. And he would never even be approached. Nothing they did helped him get to be president except pull strings. What made him president is his wife. And they should kiss her feet for all the good that she did the Bush family and legacy. They were so lucky. And so that's off the subject, but just on the Mrs. Reagan used to look for something to make action a certainty. So people like Josephus took advantage of this by posing. So he would say, you've been prophesied. Don't worry, Vespasian. It's in our ancient writings that you are going to be called from Palestine to rule the world. You can act, you can move. And that's what ancients look for, a certainty for action. And that's what all these signs are supposed to show in the ancient manuscripts. And then you say, well, are any of them real? You ask me? No, I don't think a single one of them is real. But that's just me. I'm the modern skeptic. Don't listen to me. You have to make your own decision on these things. They attract us. They're the things that we remember most. They're the things that are in the literature, in the tradition, that make the biggest impression on us because they're so awe-inspiring. It was just some fellow getting down, sitting with prostitutes and sinners around the table and saying a few clever things. That wouldn't impress us at all. But the fact that all these other things occurred, that blows our mind. And that's what it's meant to do.